Welcome to Urban Knife Guy, where we explore the urban lifestyle and jungle survival. Today we're going to have a look at this budget tracker knife. It's the Poshland TR-2128, which you can buy from Amazon. We are going to break it down and see if it is any good. First, if you watch this channel regularly but have not subscribed, please do so to help the channel out. Thanks. So I've been looking at trackers recently, and I found a brand called Poshland on Amazon. Now, they are all made from Pakistan. They're all budget knives. They do make a lot of different trackers, some in Damascus steel, some in carbon steel like this, and with different handle materials, different shapes and sizes. But they're generally inexpensive. This is $39.99, so $40 US. It's really inexpensive for a knife, for a tracker, and if it really uses this 1095 steel, and that's what they advertise it as. But honestly, I won't really trust that. Not that I don't think it cannot be 1095, but if it is not 1095, I will not be surprised. This is also brown jute micarta handles. You can get them in, I believe, wood and different colors of micarta as well. So this is the knife that you get. It's the Poshland TR-2128. I will give a link in the description. You get this sheath, which is made of leather. Leather quality is all right. It's a bit thin, but it's all right. For the price, it's serviceable. If I were really to use this knife, I would probably make a Kydex sheath, but it's not a knife that I'll actually use for myself, so I won't be making that sheath. But for what you get, it is fine for the price. It is designed to be scout carry, but for like a left-hander, I think, because this goes on the back, the small of your back. If you want to carry it, scout carry for your right hand, you'd have to carry it upside down. But in general, I do not scout carry as well. But that's the sheath, so it's got snap fasteners, so it's functional. And here we have the tracker. Now, if you're not familiar with the tracker, the original designer of the tracker knife is Rob Russin, and this is actually the original knife, the 1981 Russin tracker. So if you've heard other people claim credit for the tracker knife, that is not true. I'm going to give you a link to my review of this video, as well as to talk about the origins of the tracker knife in general. Now, right off the bat, you can see there's some key differences. I wanted to point it out first before I actually go into the details of the knife, just so that you can also kind of temper your expectation of whether you're getting a real tracker knife. You can see it's much smaller, so it's much shorter than intended. Now, the tracker knife, you must understand, in terms of its design philosophy, it's supposed to be a survival tool, a all-in-one option or solution when you go out to the wilderness. So it needs to be a certain size, a certain thickness, have capabilities that you need for an all-in-one option when you go out there. To me personally, a tracker knife like that, when it's too small, it can't serve that purpose as your one-in-all option. Then you might say, well, a smaller knife like that might be a bit more functional in terms of carryability, and you can just take it as your belt carry, right, as an option of a bushcraft or a survival knife. But in that case, a normal straight edge knife of the similar size might be actually more effective than a tracker in this size, and that's just my opinion. But just taking it from the original, so you can see there's a difference in the size, definitely a difference in the blade stock. You can see the thickness there. So the tracker is meant to be for chopping this very thin. We're looking probably 3 millimeters. It's going to be tough to really chop effectively. Now, visually it may look the same, but you can see over here the quarter round. Now, even though it looks like there's a quarter round, but you can see it's not really a quarter round. It's just a straight edge, and then it just stops. In a real tracker, that's supposed to be grinded as a quarter round so they can use it for feather sticking and really fine work. And as you can see in the case of the original tracker knife, so that is missing in there. So visually, it kind of looks like there's quarter round, but there actually isn't a quarter round. And there is saw teeth at the top. Now, this is sharper because it's tapered like almost like a swedge is created, and then the saw teeth in. Now this is not meant to be a real saw, right? The intention of the saw teeth on the tracker knife is meant to create notches for making traps or for making tent stakes. And this really with the swedge, if you're going to do batoning, then you won't have, I won't say you won't have that strength, but you're really going to be probably breaking the baton over this back edge. So this, to me, if I were to compare it to a real tracker knife, it's kind of a model or a spirit of a tracker knife design, but made like a regular knife. So it's neither here nor there. So from a design point of view, I think it's probably wrong. Wrong in the sense that they've taken a design not meant to be in this size. Now, of course, there are some other well-known tracker knives which come in various sizes as well, and they have that same kind of design, form factor, but in different sizes. I personally feel those don't really make sense to me as well. When you go down to those sizes, you're better off with a regular blade, whether it's a Scandi grind or full flat grind. I just don't think it works when you have that combination of the two grinds for the tracker knife. But let's talk about this knife itself. In terms of some specs, the blade is 5 inches, the handle is 4.4 inches, the overall length is 9.4 inches. So it's a small knife for a tracker, right? But for a bushcraft knife, maybe it's an okay size. For a survival knife, it's just on the smaller side of a survival knife as well. 3mm, 1095 steel as advertised. No way to tell whether it's true. It's got a hollow grind. This is also a hollow grind, and there's no jimping over here like the regular tracker as well. This is supposed to be brown jute micarta. It looks like micarta, I guess, but it's also kind of sanded really smooth. I don't know, it just doesn't look like expensive micarta, if there's even such a thing. Fit and finish is generally fine. While a lot of people are wary about knives from Pakistan, they can make good knives. So that shouldn't be a generalized view of knives from Pakistan. But it's true that the blade steel may be questionable. But this is a full tang, there is a lanyard hole, and you can open this up with an Allen key, I believe. So for what you get at $40 US, I don't think it's bad, right? I don't think in terms of the quality of the fit and finish, the build and what you get, it's definitely worth $40 US. Now, can you use this as a tracker knife is intended? I'm not too sure. We will go out into the field and I'm going to try it out. I personally think it will serve some purpose, but might not be as effective, and I suspect my regular kind of bushcraft knife might actually fare better than this. But of course, there's a big price difference as well. So that's the tabletop review of this Poshland tracker. I will now bring this out to the field and I'll share my thoughts after that. So I'm out in the jungle and I do have this felled tree trunk over here. It's pretty big, about 10 inches. Can't find anything smaller, and that's the thing about the jungle. It basically devours and takes back any tree that falls or any branch that falls within a week. And I've been testing other trackers on this trunk as well, as you can see. So I think just for consistency, I'm going to continue using this trunk. Now the whole idea is not to cut through the trunk, but just to test the choppability, how effective it is, how it feels in the hand. And this is a pretty small tracker, as I've talked about, so let's give it a shot. Okay, that's about 2 minutes of chopping. I would say definitely compared to all the other trackers, this would be the most difficult in terms of, just getting the output based on the knife, because it's smaller, it's thinner, it's still a hollow grind, but the handle is small, it's thin. So when you're grabbing it for the purchase, you're spending just so much effort trying to grab it so it doesn't fall out. Now there's a lanyard hole, so we could do a pinky lanyard that would help, but still you don't have that confidence in the grip. And if I had to chop through this in kind of a survival situation, it's going to take a lot of energy, and not just from the arm but really the fingers, because you're just trying to get that grip. So I kind of expected that for this size of a tracker, and what to expect from the chopping capabilities. So we found some bamboo, and bamboo is a vital resource in the jungle. So if we want a 1-2 option, it definitely must cut through bamboo. So I've chosen one that is slightly smaller. It's about 1.5 inches in diameter, not as big as others because this knife is not as big. But we're going to try to see if it can cut through bamboo. Okay, I'd say it did a fairly good job considering the size, but again, I probably wouldn't want to really spend all day chopping bamboo with this particular knife, but it can cut through. Here are my thoughts of the Poshland tracker after field testing. I think when it comes to a tracker, one tool option, this doesn't meet the mark. It's just too small. And I think tracker knives of this size probably aren't effective in what it's supposed to be. I think tracker knives, if they're designed as 1-2 options, they have to be bigger, it has to be multifunctional. Once they're reduced to a certain size, they lose the effectiveness in different areas, and other knives would outperform it. So other knives like the Etsy, the K-Bar, or even this Tops Brachimo will outperform this particular Poshland tracker in, I think, almost all functions. So generally, I think I will not recommend any small size tracker. Of course, that's a generalized statement, but at least that's my initial thoughts working with quite a few tracker knives. This one, as you can see, it can do different things. It can chop, it can cut through the bamboo, it does do feather sticking decently well, although it's really small curls. It could cut through paracord, but it just doesn't do everything well. It's just serviceable and it's not particularly comfortable. I mentioned these small handles really makes a difference. You get fatigued. So as a 1-2 option, I don't think it hits up its mark, and I personally won't recommend it if you are looking for a tracker knife. Now, if you're looking for a tracker knife for decoration, for display or collecting, or you just want a tracker knife as part of a collection but you don't intend to use it out in the jungle or the woods, then yeah, maybe you could buy this. But I think there are other options which are slightly more expensive which can perform even better. Well, let's see if it can strike a ferro rod. We'll try the spine first. Doesn't seem really sharp. Not much sparks. Let's try the saw teeth. Yeah, that's slightly better, but not much as well. So not much sparks from this particular knife. So as I said, I think the ferro rod striking is indicative of the other things, right? It can do it, just doesn't do it well. Well, let me know your thoughts in the comments below if you have this particular knife and if you think my thoughts are accurate or just way off base. Do let me know what you think. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you like the content in general, please subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. Thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.